Florida Atlantic with the win, 92-63, and we're about to break it all down. Florida Atlantic boys PostUp, Coastal Georgia FAU plays an NAIA team tonight, and Damon Arnette and I are about to go through some of the particulars from this one and break down what was Florida Atlantic's third victory of this 2025-2026 season. Florida Atlantic Voice presented by Robes Law Group, ROBES, robeslawgroup.com, presenting partners of the Florida Atlantic Voice. And make sure to subscribe to the FAU, the Florida Atlantic Voice podcast. It'll be in audio form after we're done here tonight with this live version of the Florida Atlantic Voice. But Damon Arnette, FAU, it's the third win on the board. First things first in this one. And by the way, the chat is open if you're watching this live on Twitter and on YouTube. So go ahead, jump in, give us your questions, give us your observations from tonight's win over Coastal Georgia. If anything, before we get deep into the weeds here, if anything, it was nice to have this game to wash that Liberty loss off of the palate and just move forward.
Definitely. Anytime you get a chance to put a loss in the rearview mirror, you'll take it. Okay. And Coastal Georgia tonight, they put up a good fight, about as well as they could actually do. And I was just glad to see that we controlled the game from beginning to the end, because we have lost to Bryant, the likes of Bryant College, in this gym before. So you never want that to happen. And I was just glad to see that we had control of the game from literally the beginning to the end.
So Florida Atlantic now 3-1 on the season. Devin Vanterpool with 30 points tonight, a career high for Vanterpool. It's wild to me. And we knew that there was going to be a come up for him. We knew that he was improved. We knew he put the work in, but I'm not sure I saw 59 points in 2 games at any point this year for Devin Vanterpool. He clearly has been the best player on the team so far through 4 games, however you value that.
And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, Ken. One, the team is so unselfish and they're deferring to him. You can kind of tell, especially all the new transfers, that they're deferring to him, which tells me that even off the court before the season even began, he took on a leadership role. Okay, and now he's backing up his leadership by productivity. You don't want to be that leader that tries to lead and then tries to follow up with production and then it's not there.
Right.
So I can tell that he's getting so much respect as each one of these moments happen for him, and I'm glad to see it for him, because he's definitely been waiting his turn.
Let's talk a little bit about Florida Atlantic's defense tonight, and we discussed this with John Jacobs. It was definitely not an overwhelming defensive performance. You made the point that against an NAIA school where they're not really running an awful lot on offense, it sometimes is difficult to find your footing defensively. But John Jacobs talked about it in particular, the straight line drives and getting into defenders' chests and Liberty getting the first step off of that. And it was either a layup line or it was them hitting from distance. That was a major point of emphasis for Florida Atlantic over the last 8 days following that Liberty loss. It seemed like in the second half, FAU settled more into the discipline when it came to trying to cut that off. During the first half, you were saying they might be a little close to the ball, FAU's defenders, yes. And there were a lot of fouls committed by FAU in the first half.
Yeah, sometimes you can pressure. There's a fine line between pressure and being overly aggressive. And we were overly aggressive with our pressure. You just want pressure. You don't want over aggressiveness with it. And that led to a lot of perimeter, 15 feet away from the basket type of fouls. And we wasn't even fouling jump shooters or fouling on shot attempts. We were just fouling just off the dribble. And as Coach Jacobs mentioned in the post game, a lot of that's because they're not moving their feet and they're playing with their hands. They call that stabbing.
Yep.
Where you're just putting your hands in there and just being just out of control to some extent with your body and just creating a lot of body contact because you're so close. That also makes it easy for you to go by, believe it or not.
That is fixable, especially as the year goes on. I think that's important. Was it clean tonight?
Well, no. That's fixable in a day because
Sure.
that's just discipline. That's just saying, you know what, instead of giving them half an arm's length, give them a full arm's length away as you're playing defense. And then that problem solved. But with the pressure that I know Coach Jacobs is trying to create with his team, he's trying to get on the ball pressure. He's trying to make it hard for the person with the ball to see assist opportunities. But sometimes you got to make sure when you're playing that style of defense, you got to be very disciplined with your hands.
Other than Devin Vanterpool tonight, who stood out most to you?
Well, a lot of people stood out most to me for a lot of different reasons. One, Williams. He was struggling from finishing around the rim, but today he came out and he did pretty well around that. So you hope that that is a turning point with him. He's feeling more comfortable. Logie came off the bench and gave good energy minutes as they're trying to play himself, because we're going to need him. We're going to need that size.
Yeah.
We're going to need that physicality. He came in and gave good minutes. And you look at from the point guard position, just the unselfishness that's there and the wherewithal to understand that a teammate has it going, and then just keep giving him the ball in the spots that he likes it. So a lot of different areas, a lot of different players came out and in their own way showed me a lot in contributing to this win.
Florida Atlantic is now 3-1 on the year. Pacific comes in on Thursday. It's the Florida Atlantic Voice PostUp, presented by Robes Law Group. Make sure if you have any questions, any impressions, observations from tonight's Florida Atlantic victory over Coastal Georgia, the chat is open for those of you that are watching live on YouTube and on Twitter. I look at this game tonight, and it's just always tough to glean anything from an NAIA opponent. Largely, you schedule these games because you have a relationship somewhere with the other program, and you're trying to maybe get some run for some players that wouldn't necessarily see a ton of minutes. It gives you a better idea of maybe where your rotation is going as you make your way through the course of the season. You're going to have unconventional combinations on the floor. John Jacobs mentioned he thought that Xander Pintelon, who played sporadically throughout the course of the night, when it came to the interior, Pintelon shone brightly. He established himself underneath. He was attacking the glass. He had a couple of putback opportunities that he was able to convert. Pintelon, who we know can hit the three ball, we know he's a threat from distance. If he can establish that more and more, he's just going to be so dangerous because you're scared. You got to close out on him. And next thing you know, he's 5 feet from the basket and finishing. He feels very much like an X factor for this team.
He is. And what you want to have is some level of consistency defensively from him. He is the tallest player on our team. And to have that from the three-point line, it's okay to you can kind of get away with it offensively, pulling him away from the basket. But sometimes because we switch everything, he's on a guard that is standing beyond the three-point line. And so to have him that far away from the basket, he's going to have to make an concerted effort to get involved with rebounding and contesting shots, even though that his man may be beyond the three-point line.
The 3-point percentage tonight for Coastal Georgia was around 47%. Florida Atlantic came in very close to the bottom nationally.
Isn't that what we give up, 47%?
Right around there,
so
yeah. When do you get at least a semblance of concern about that? John Jacobs was talking about what he called limbo, and you're not sure if you help. You're not sure if help is coming. You sort of don't know what direction to go into. That's obviously fixable, but it does seem like this is trending towards last year when 3-point percentage defense was a big problem for FAU. It's only 4 games into the season, but it does have to be curbed at some point.
No, without a doubt. And it's the same problem, but for different reasons. Last year, we were just late closing out, or we didn't close out at all.
Yeah.
This year, we're stuck, and we're like, as Coach Jacobs said, in limbo. We're trying to help or go to our man. And that's just going to come with more of a feel from a team chemistry, knowing the player in front of you, recognizing when you're one pass away, your teammate has the player under control and doesn't need your help. And just committing to go to your man or go help and not be in that area. And that's something that can be coached out real quick, and that's something that can phase itself out as they continuously play in games. Because when you play these games, you get tape. And when you get tape, you're able to sit down and continuously point out these areas. So as these games start to mount, 4 games in 8 days?
Yeah.
I think that's what we're doing.
You've got Pacific. Then you go to Daytona Monday. You've got Loyola Marymount. And then you've got either George Mason or Ohio coming up on Tuesday.
Yeah. So when you start developing all this tape, that's just footage that you can point out to your team. And then that's when the patterns are displayed to the team. Okay, it's kind of hard to say a pattern when you just played really 2 games and or whatnot. Because remember, life is good when you beat Boston College.
Yeah.
So you feel like you did everything right. Okay, and then you go out and win your next game and say, okay, yeah, so we got this thing figured out. Oh, here comes Liberty. They bust you in the mouth. Okay, and so now you got that tape. So as this team's resume is starting to build, and it's going to build real quickly because in a week from now, you're going to have 4 more games to put on that resume reel as you go back and look. And that's why that help defense and giving up that 3, I feel more confident that it's going to get corrected early this year than last year just because of the reason why it's there. And you got to keep in mind, too, Liberty had a big hand in that shooting percentage.
Yeah, sure. They had 17 threes in that game. Robbie Lestella, who joins me for the day after basically the FAU football version of this show, the PostUp. He joins me every single Sunday to break down FAU football. Good evening, gents. Hope the call went well. Thank you, Robbie. My big takeaway may be a surprise, but Vince Neugebauer and Xander Pintelon playing together went well. They could cause major problems for similar American Conference teams. It was nice to get Neugebauer some work tonight and see him get himself involved. And again, he's still green. He's still raw, but he's such a big presence. He certainly could become conference play, especially someone that has to be dealt with. And I think that's what you're looking for, at least for now, is him being someone that you have to deal with.
He's got a coach and them have got to put him in a situation where he knows he's only going to score in 1 or 2 situations right now. See, now he don't know if he's going to get the ball here, there, or whatever. And with his being so green and just being in the flow of the game, catching up with the speed of the game is always the first thing for a new player. That's why freshmen tend to struggle.
Yeah.
Not because their skills have diminished or they don't translate. It's because they have to play and do what they've been doing at a different speed. And that's what our bigs going to have to do. And when you got them in the game, you got to be careful because you lose team speed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so it just depends on how Jacobs wants the game to go because you lose a lot of team speed when you have those 2 bigs in there. Okay, and then offensively, the sets are not designed for 2 bigs. So but once again, I'm sure if he wants to run that set, Coach Jacobs is a bright mind. He'll figure it out, and I think they will work well together and be able to create. I like to see them start establishing some type of high-low situation because that's always effective, especially when you're conference.
It didn't even occur to me that this would be something that this team is working through right now, but it makes sense. I mean, there are 8 international players on this roster. But John Jacobs was talking about Maxime Logie, who put in almost 10 minutes in the second half, who performed well, didn't score, but he had 2 blocks. He had 4 rebounds. He was active. He was trying to keep possessions alive, second chance opportunities underneath the basket. But John Jacobs said that he's been battling injury, sure, but also there is still a little bit of a language barrier. And so when you call for something and Logie doesn't necessarily understand and he goes the complete opposite direction of where he needs to be on the floor, especially on an offensive set, it handicaps everybody involved. that is a legitimate evolution. The way that John Jacobs and this coaching staff approach building this roster, language barriers are a very real thing, especially early in a season. That is unique. That is wildly unique.
And with me personally, I can attest to that from playing overseas when
Sure.
everyone else spoke a different language other than English. Okay, and so what they ended up doing for me, and I believe I was in China at this point in time, they just gave me colors. and I would just hear a color. Okay, and so the point guard would say 2 calls. He'd make the call, and then he would say, I would hear him say blue, and blue told me what I needed to do.
So it was sort of like when you see the big poster board on a football sideline, and the quarterback looks over, or the defense looks over, and they see the play, and you go from there. You're just using pictures at that point.
Exactly, and that triggered. And so actually, I'm going to speak to Coach Jacobs about that. Maybe that may help him understand, and have a big yellow card.
Here's what I think should happen. They should have a one set or one defensive assignment with a poster board that has your face on it and another that has my face on it. It'll be Damon defense or LaVicka offense. How do you feel about that?
I like it.
I think that's a great idea.
These fat heads around here. Let's just get us a fat head.
That's a great, and just hold that up.
Exactly.
Hey, forget the colors. You need to go to Jacobs with the Damon and Ken approach to this entire thing.
Especially since they got us up here in the penthouse.
In the penthouse.
Sees us no more. We used to be the center of attention.
Yeah, I know. We need our presence felt once again, even if it's us in poster board or foam form. Florida Atlantic Voice, presented by Robes Law Group, personal injury lawyers, ROBES, robeslawgroup.com. Again, the chat rolling through. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Twitter, and this will be available audio podcast form after the fact here. I think that Nico Moretti is still fighting it a little bit, and John Jacobs has insinuated, outright said, he thinks that the Nico Moretti we see in December is going to be different than the Nico Moretti that we see in November. He was hurt. He was banged up. It just seems like Nico right now is trying to find consistency running the offense and trying to find his footing defensively. Is that an accurate way to describe at least what your eyeballs are seeing with Nico Moretti right now?
Yes, it's almost like, bringing your little brother to on a date.
Okay.
You just feel out of place. You feel awkward.
You know what? That's one of the weirdest and also, I think, fun analogies that you've ever put out there. I appreciate that, actually.
I've been that little brother. That's why I say
Okay.
So I know how that feels to be involved and to be there, to be sitting at the table and conversation is happening and you just feel like you're not involved.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and so
you're the third wheel.
Exactly. And so I think Nico is trying to, that is just from just trying to look at him and just kind of tell the awkwardness that is not part of his game, but just still trying to see him play through that, and the injuries part of it. Sharing the basketball now with Carlisle, is part of it. Where does he get his shot off at? Okay, because he does have a scorer's mentality, and so he's still trying to find his place right now. But he'll get there. He'll get there. He knows how to do it, and he's no spring chicken at this thing. And so that's why sometimes injuries, they really stifle a player, especially when you got so many new pieces and you're trying to be a piece to everything. So he's going to have to another analogy for you, he's going to have to jump in like double dutch because they've already got it going and he's just waiting to find out, when do I jump in so now I can get on rhythm with everyone else.
Robbie says things we love to see. Nico Moretti, Johan Sissoko putting shots up on a quiet court immediately after the game. Yeah, I definitely noticed that. And again, like Nico just trying to get into rhythm. And I think Sissoko tonight looked sped up a little bit. And it's so easy for us to go player by player by player by player by player when you're playing an NAIA team, but we do that and we fall back on that because there's really no discernible moment in the game that you point to and say this made the difference, because it all, even when Coastal Georgia was able to fight it back to single digits in the first half, everything was a foregone conclusion from that. But just like the coaching staff, this is just us evaluating and observing, and the coaches are going to dig deeper with the film. But that's what you do in a game like this, and you go player by player. In that respect, I know that it's got to feel great for Max Langenfeld to finally get the cap off the damn rim from three. You could see his body language as he's missing 3 threes tonight, and he's frustrated. And we talked about it extensively on the broadcast. He finally saw one go through late, and John Jacobs, and I think this is verbatim, but just to save myself, I'll say I'm paraphrasing, but he said, we don't know when it's going to be, but it's going to happen. We're going to need him at some point during the course of the season in a big moment. So that could end up being very big. Him
Right.
at least knowing, hey, I can get that shot from distance, because that's a big part of his game.
No, that is his game. And so with him to be able to knock that shot down in practice, and I've never seen him struggle. And his shooting struggles, if you want to just be overly critical or observant, rather not critical, goes back to last year. Okay, when he played in the first part of the season, he couldn't buy a bucket then
before he got hurt.
So all this stuff is in his mind. And so he's still trying to play through that. And I'm glad to see him get a free throw. Let him see, sometimes as a shooter, as a scorer, you just need the ball to go through the net. Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't care how. Give me a layup. Let me cherry pick. Just let me see the ball go through the net. And trust me, that tends to take the lid off sometimes.
Pacific comes up on Thursday. It's a Pacific team that did not have a good year last year. They're certainly not a contender for the WCC title, but I think it's safe to say the WCC is and has been a superior conference to the American for quite some time. Traditionally sending two teams, at least for the last 5 to 6 to 7 years, to the NCAA tournament, whether it's Gonzaga, whether it's St. Mary's. And so you're back to Division I play, but forget just the opponent for a second. And you're trying to pick up another win at home. But this is also a key stretch, as we mentioned, just Loyola Marymount and Ohio or George Mason. And then you have St. Bonaventure. Then you have Florida Gulf Coast, who you've lost the last 2 years to, including being the number 7 team in the country and losing the last time that Florida Atlantic went to the Gulf side to play Florida Gulf Coast. So I get the sense that after we talk about those 5 games, we're going to be very close to knowing what this team is after that.
And I wish I could go talk to the team in the locker room, and because I want them, and the reason, I'm sure they're already being told this, but coming out of this stretch, you very well could find yourself in a top 25. Okay, I mean, if you run the table through this stretch of games that you're going to, or at least starting to get votes, or starting to just push your way toward that type of recognition. I think it's probably
most likely, but yes.
A top 30. You know what I'm saying? You start putting yourself in that kind of conversation. And that's with this team that's trying to find and establish its own identity. That should be the chip on your shoulder. That should be the extra motivation that you have, not to just come out here and just play, but play to start your own identity, because you are following in footsteps. There is a history. There is 3 consecutive years of postseason play. I mean, there are things that you've got a torch that you've got to start carrying.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that now with the school and the basketball program. But if you run this table here, I mean, you really set yourself up to be put at a team to start getting votes.
Yeah.
As being one of the top, 30, 35 teams in the country.
I look at the rest of the American, and it's way too early to handicap this entire thing. But Memphis got absolutely crapped on at home by UNLV. UAB's already lost a home game to Alabama State. Tulane got absolutely annihilated by New Orleans at home just a couple of nights ago. My point is, this whole conference is wide open. To me, there is no true favorite. And so if you navigate the non-conference well and you have confidence going into conference play at the end of December, the pieces are here for FAU. I think obviously there's still some question marks on the interior. Right. Who's going to be that presence that is going to be have that ability to score at the rim, that is consistently going to be able to protect the rim. You've got dynamic guard player. That's going to be the focal point of your offense. That's going to be the focal point of trying to cut things off at the perimeter on the defensive side of the ball. But it is all there. I mean, look, Tulane was picked ahead of Florida Atlantic. They were clubbed by New Orleans. UAB losing at home to Alabama State. FAU has a real chance here in the American if they can find their flow and the rhythm and their cohesiveness in a quicker amount of time than everybody else who's having trouble finding their cohesiveness.
No, you're right. And I really think a key to that is making sure everybody is contributing. Okay, because Devin is not going to score 29 points a night.
You're not going to win much if Vanterpool is being depended on to score 25 to 30.
And that's been proven because we 1-1. doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you got to get these other guys involved. You got to make them, they have to start feeling involved, and also too, not hesitating when their opportunity to make a play on the court comes.
So Florida Atlantic victorious tonight. The Owls take down Coastal Georgia 92-63. That is the final here tonight from the Eleanor R. Baldwin Arena. So next up is Pacific. What would you like to see? What from tonight did you see that you think is absolutely going to need to be corrected by Thursday?
Well, the low-hanging fruit is the three-point line defense.
Yeah.
That needs to be corrected tonight. Okay, and so if that's a West Coast team, they're going to get it up. They're going to shoot the ball. Okay, and so this is, I don't know if you've realized this, Ken, but this is a visitor's gym when it comes to shooting.
Yeah.
Okay, they love our rims here.
Good backdrop, and the rims are very friendly.
They love our rims here, and so their Pacific's going to come in hot before they even get started. Okay, and so I wouldn't give them a shoot around, to be honest. I'm just thinking about it.
I don't think that's legal.
Well, make them shoot in the rec center. Give them a shoot around in the rec, just so where these rims are new to them until they get here. But I think we got to shore up that defense, and we got to start letting that ball work and travel more, so where Devin doesn't feel as if he's the only one to take advantage of opportunities, and have other people take advantage of opportunities and stop waiting for him to do it, so where we can be multiple, have multiple players that are attacking from different sides of the floor, that are driving and kicking. You got different shooters popping out. As Carlisle said, he's trying to get 5 players and 10 points, or whatever that team goal is that they have. Just to be able to play close to that against Pacific is going to go a long way.
One team that I didn't mention in the American that actually looks like there might be something there is Tulsa. They beat Rhode Island on a neutral floor. They beat Oral Roberts in a rivalry game on Wednesday. They nearly knocked off one of the most expensive rosters in the country, Kansas State, tonight. PJ Haggerty, now on Kansas State. We talked about this on the broadcast. He is the poster boy for the modern era of college basketball. Started his career at Tulsa, won freshman of the year in the league, immediately went to Memphis, chased the money, became player of the year in the league, led Memphis to the NCAA tournament. Now he's at Kansas State and went up against his former team tonight.
They call that flipping it. He keeps flipping it.
Flipping it, man. I mean, that is some wild stuff right there.
But I wonder how much better he's gotten.
Well, he had 29 points tonight.
So he's the same.
He's sick, man. He is sick, and he's worth every cent that Kansas State paid for him. But again, Tulsa going into Manhattan and nearly knocking off Kansas State. I just get the sense this is going to be a really topsy-turvy year in the American, and that's why FAU can make an impact. But it's just got to get shored up, and you've got to steadily navigate the next 3 weeks or so before you get into conference play. And of course, that Final Nine conference game is going to come against UCF at Disney late in December, right before the holiday. Want to thank everybody for listening. Want to thank everybody for watching. Want to thank everybody for jumping in the chat. This will be available audio form wherever you get your podcast, Florida Atlantic Voice. Just subscribe, so it comes right to your phone, so you don't have to worry about seeking it out. And, of course, it's archived on YouTube and Twitter as well. For Damon Arnette, I'm Ken LaVicka. Don't forget Robes Law Group, ROBES, robeslawgroup.com, robeslawgroup.com. FAU beats Coastal Georgia. This has been the Florida Atlantic Voice Post Up. Talk to you next time, and